Okay, so I'm creating a new video about roofs. When you start a brand new drawing, we found that we're going to pick the browse button. Whether you're on the main page or already in the file, you can pick the browse button when you create a new project model and use the default template. Using the default template will bring it back to the basics, and it will be without a lot of levels and different families. You can explore these later on if you'd like on your own. Let's use the default RTE, which is the template. Pick open and then pick OK. When we do that, now we have a brand new project and we have one level, level 1. We have a properties and project browser here, tools that we can use. You can right click to make sure that those are on. Here's the properties palette menu, and the project browser will show you the different levels. Okay, so we're on level 1 and we're ready to place our wall. We can click the wall button right there in the architecture tab. And now we're going to go at a height. So we want to change the unconnected to level 2 because we want it to go from level 1 to level 2. And then we can pick the rectangle icon over here under draw. We're going to use the basic wall generic. We'll just pick a point, pull your mouse across and pick another point. It doesn't matter how big it is. It should be somewhat of a structure, but we want to make sure that we want it inside these elevation markers so that we know that the elevations will show when we go to look at those. Okay, pick the modify button to clear or escape out of any commands. You can see the difference because there's no green up at the top. We're going to go over to level 2 because we want to put the roof on level 2. Well, let's take a quick look at what we've created. So up at the very top left, we want to click on that little house icon to go to the 3D view because it doesn't show until you do that first. You can also get that icon in the view tab menu up here. So here's the 3D view, and there it is in the project browser now. We just created walls that went from level 1 to level 2. Plus, if you double click on one of these elevations under building elevations, you'll see, and you can use your mouse and with the wheel of the mouse to navigate here, like pan and zoom around using the wheel. But also want to point out to you, if you don't have a mouse with the wheel, which I like to totally recommend, you can use the navigation bar right here. It has this full navigation wheel that also has those features if you're just using a laptop. But here are the levels, level 1 and level 2. We're going to take a look at creating another level as we create dormers and other floors. So going back to level 2 now, where we want to put the roof, we should be able to see level 1. If you don't see level 1, you can use what's called an underlay over here in properties. The underlay will say that the range is to level 1. So I'm in level 2, but I can see kind of a grayed out level 1. And that would be a good reason for why maybe some of your roofs might end up on level 1. We need to make sure we're in the level that we want the roof level to be at. So we can go up to roof and just rest your pointer on roof by footprint. You'll see that there are purple lines that go around your roof outline, and the purple little triangles will show the sides of the roof that are going to slope. So you see how the example is showing you the roof sloping at those edges. And the other ones are going to be a gable end. So let's go ahead and pick roof by footprint. You can see right away that we're in the sketch mode. Everything is turned up the top a different color. You've got this huge red X and green check mark. So now you know that you're no longer in the Revit commands. And see what happens when you go to other tabs. Everything's grayed out because you're in the Modify tab and you're creating a sketch of the roof. So at this point, we want to take a look at which sides are going to be defined as a slope. You see how there's a check mark here, define slope? And also maybe we want to create an overhang. So let's replace that with 1, which will be 1 foot. We don't need to type in the feet there. And when we get close to the project, the wall itself, you can see the little dashed line that illustrates the overhang of 1. And because we have defined slope, when I click on this, by default, just to let you know, by default, up in the draw panel, we're using pick walls. But there are a lot of other different ways that we can create roofs that we'll take a look at. So here I'm going to click on this side of the wall, and now you see I have that little triangle, and it tells me what the slope is. And so over here on this side, I'm going to click to get the little dashed line on the outside, and there it is. Those two are sloped. But now I want to go back and take the check mark out of define slope so that all in the sketch, I'm sketching out this purple line that's going to give me the roof or define the roof. And that's it. We're using the basic roof 12-inch, but there are a lot of other roof types that we'll talk about as well. We can now pick the green check mark to see our roof. And because each one of these levels only goes up so high, right now it's getting cut off. It's cut off because when I click in space here, I'll see that it's being cut off because this level only goes so high. And we want that because we don't want the walls to go all the way up to the level 3 or 1 higher. But if we wanted to see all of the roof, because maybe we're working with a site plan or something, or we want to go higher in this level, we can go over to view range. View range is in the properties menu here. View range, I'm going to go ahead and click on edit. Now right now what's happening is that we have an offset of 7 foot 6 inches for this range and for the top of level 2, and also it's going to have a cut plane of 4 feet. So see how it's cutting it off at 4 feet. So kind of a quick way to be able to see the whole roof is to change this top range to something really high. I'm just going to say, let's say 30 feet. And we'll do the same thing with the cut plane. We'll just type in 30 or something high. If you go too low and you start to create more levels, you will you might see it cut off and not know what the range is. So just keep in mind that the view range is going to be how much you want to see in this level. Let's pick apply, and you see now I can see my roof. I'm going to go ahead and pick OK. So if we go back to the 3D view, we can either go in the project browser here and double click to open this up and double click on this this 3D view, or you can click on the little house icon at the top. And now we've created another tab. Some people like to use these tabs up here. I will, but when you open it up another drawing, unless you've renamed the levels, you're going to have 2 level 1s, and it does get a little bit more confusing. So double click until you kind of get a sense of these tabs on the project browser view to go to that view. Okay, so this roof didn't extend. Sometimes it does. And so I'm going to show you how to manually extend it. You can click on the wall right there, pick attach top base up at the top, and then click on the roof. And if you hold your shift key down and the wheel of your mouse, you can move your mouse and orbit around to the other side. Now you're welcome to use, like I said, you're welcome to use the full navigation wheel that's over there on the right hand side over here. That'll also have the orbit around the building, or you can use this view cube. The view cube is also a different way of holding your left mouse button down on this compass at the bottom and orbiting. I think it's best to get a mouse with the wheel on wheel on it, and hold your shift key down and the wheel of your mouse to orbit. This is something that we want to do often so that we can see it in the 3D view because we're creating a model. So click on the wall itself, click attach top base up at the top, and then click on the roof, and you'll see that it extends to the roof. Okay, so let's say that we have an addition here, and we're going to go to level 1 and draw something random. I'm going to start the wall tool and just verify we're going to level 2. And here it is. I love this. This software is so exciting. I'm going to create this building addition, and then I'm going to use the modify tab. So I clicked on modify or escape key a bunch of times to get out of drawing that wall. And now I'm going to go over to modify. There is a tool here. There are actually two tools. One is called split element, and that would be where you want to split the wall. That's what we're going to be using. And then there's a split with a gap if you wanted to split it and still have a little gap, or you could take a piece out. We'll be using that later on. We'll use split element so that we can come in here and click these two corners right there and there. So I did not put a check mark in delete inner segment. If I put a check mark in delete inner segment, this part would have come out. So I'm going to escape out of that, click on this and delete it. I can right click and pick delete. If I go back over to the 3D view, double click on 3D view, I'm going to orbit over here and see that I have this addition, but now I have to create a roof. So I'm going to go to level 2 and we're going to create a separate roof for this addition. Then we'll come back just to let you know where we're going and use this join unjoin roof. If you look at the little video, we're going to be able to extend the roof to the one roof to the other roof. Okay, so let's go to level 2 and we'll see here is our addition. And now we have to go create a roof. We'll go to the architecture tab and go back to roof by footprint. Just like we did before, we want an 1 foot overhang and we want to define the slope. So let's put a check mark in define slope for these two sides, this one and this one. So now we have those little triangles to define that slope. And now we want to take the check mark out of define slope and click this one because we do want to have an overhang, but maybe we want to have a gable end. Now this back one is just an actual regular line that we can clean up. So up here under the draw tools, we're just sketching the purple line that illustrates or creates our roof. So I'm going to click on line. Then I'm just going to go ahead and draw a line from here to here. Now notice I want to get out of that, creating that line. So click the modify button there or escape key. And notice that I have these kind of extensions I have to clean up. One of my favorite tools is underneath modify here. Not because we're in the modify sketch mode, we're going to see the modify tools. Here they are. And they're just like other software. We have move and copy and offset and mirror. And we'll be looking at these as we move forward. But here, this one is like a trim extend that you would see in AutoCAD. But I like to use it because when I click on it, I can click on these two lines and see how it cleans it up. Cleans it up. There's no radius involved. It just cleans up that corner. And now I have what I need. I have the two sides that are sloping and these two that are just gable straight roofs. I'm going to go ahead and pick the green check mark. Now I have this roof. If I double click on the 3D view, I can see that it's not connected to this other roof, but I'm going to go up here underneath modify, the modify tab up the top menu. And under geometry, the panel here, I'm going to find that join unjoin roof. If you just rest your pointer, you can see the little video. It'll show you that we're going to select the back side of the new roof and then the plane of the existing roof, and it extends right to it. So I'm going to pick join unjoin roof. I'm going to click here the back side of this new roof and then the surface of this other one. You see how it kind of goes back. Now, if you had a different roof slope, you have to watch this because the roof slope for this one might be too low. This will extend all the way back. So these two have to kind of meet each other, or you'll get different variations of how these two are intersecting. So this one didn't extend. I can click on the wall go to attach top base, click on the roof, and now that's extended. Use your modify button or your escape key to get out of that. Hey, but notice here, you have these little notches. This mouse is giving me a little bit of a hard time. You see how this one didn't extend? So you have that little piece there. Sometimes it's better to hold your control key down and select more than one wall to make sure that they're all extending. If you hold your control key down, you can click on more than one object. So I've got all three of these. I can pick attach, top base, and then click on this roof. See how it takes away the little piece that didn't get extended up to the roof underneath the soffit here. Okay. So I just did a search for roof dormers to show you that there's several different types of roof dormers, and this is kind of a good illustration of what we're going to be doing. We have roof dormers that are kind of up on the roof where the roof extends in front of it. See how the roof the roof overhang comes in front of the wall. The dormers I'd like to show you in this video are both the ones that are set back here with the roof that comes in front of it, and also this one that comes full length from the wall all the way up. You can gain a lot of floor space upstairs by using a dormer. I've actually created full bathrooms, 10 by 10 rooms upstairs with these dormers. You can see that some of them get really big, and it really depends on what kind of roof you want, because right now we're using a gable basic roof, but we also have the shed roof that we'll be taking a look at as we start to look at different roofs. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab this and put it over here somewhere. So the first thing we want to do is decide on how far up we want to go with our dormer and create a level for that. So we'll go to the east elevation, double click to get there. Periodically, you're going to be asked to save the project. You can go ahead and do that and call it whatever you'd like and put it in your files. Here we have a dormer that's going to start at level 2, but we need to create another level to say like how high up do we want the ceiling for or the wall for the dormer. So we'll go over to the architecture tab. We're in the east elevation, and at the top right, we can go to level. We go to level and we decide what is my height of this dormer and the roof of it. So for sure we have to go at least 8 feet. So I'm going to go ahead and find that 8-foot mark and click and pull my mouse over and click. Now use your escape key to get out of that command. If you need to change the level height, you can always click right here on the number. You might have to get close enough to get in there and then change it. Let's say you wanted 8'6" or you wanted some other height, you could do that. And at some point we should rename these levels, but right now I want to keep it basic and keep it at level 3, which is going to be the top of my dormer. So now I can go to the level 2, which is where I want to start the wall. Double click on that and decide on where we want our dormer. I'm just going to find a place right here to put a small dormer. I'm going to start the wall tool and make sure that the wall goes from level 2, which is what we're on, to level 3, which it should be by default. And at this point, we're defining the wall for the dormer. So maybe I'll start here, come over to this wall here, and back to the inside here of the room. But you know that it's coming into the roof now, but you would design whatever is going on up in the attic type space so that you could walk up here and walk across and have this opening that's in the dormer. So there would be an extension of a wall that's inside the roof. We may have to move up the pitch, the roof pitch, or the height of the first floor as well. Okay, so now I have these three walls that make up my dorm where I can go over to the 3D view, and there they are. So at this point, I did make them kind of wide, so my roof's going to be a little bit different, but that's okay. I mean, you can always click on this wall and just move it over, whatever, whatever you'd like to do in Revit. There are a lot of possibilities with working with the walls in different views. Now, it doesn't look like this wall is attached or part of this roof. To make it look like it is, before we even put the roof on, we can go over to the modify button, and it's a different type of join. It's called join geometry. If I click on join geometry in the geometry tab under modify join, I can click on this wall and this roof and see that line. See that? The wall and the roof. So same thing here, the wall and the roof, and you'll be able to kind of define the wall and see how it looks. All right, now let's put the roof on. We have to go over to level 3. So double click on level 3. So this is where we want to use over underlay over here. In properties, we have underlay as none. So we want to make sure that we have the underlay at least level 2 so that I can see my wall. So change it the range base level to level 2 and then pick apply. Now we can go to roof by footprint and make sure we have a 1 foot overhang. Put a check mark and define slope. We're using here pick walls in the draw panel there. I'm going to go ahead and click on these two walls to define the slope on those sides. And then I'm going to take the check mark out of define slope. When I get to this wall, it doesn't look like there's a purple line that's going to appear because it's on top of that one, but I noticed here I'm going to go ahead and click, and there it is. There's the purple line. It didn't have to be in line with the edge of the other roof. We could set those back. If you looked at the example, there are a lot of dormers that are set back away from the other wall and not right on top of it. This dormer can go anywhere, really. If you look here at these examples, take a look. Some of them are pretty far back and not up against the front wall. So it's open to whatever location you want. Like we did before, though, with this addition, we are going to draw a line, just a simple line that goes across the back so that we can extend it to the other roof. So I'm still in the sketch mode. So in the sketch mode, I'm going to click on line now in the draw panel and draw this random line here because I'm in the sketch mode. And then I'll use this trim extend corner like I did before to click on these two purple lines and kind of clean that up. So this is what we created in the sketch mode. We created our roof that slopes up at these two sides. I'm going to go ahead and pick the green check mark, and you can see in this view that the view range is not high enough for this level 3. We'd have to change that for this level. But for now, let's go to the 3D view. Take a look. Here it is. In the same way that we created this addition, we can click on this wall. Hey, this is where I can just rest my pointer on this wall, press and let go of the tab key, and you see how it'll select all 3 of them, or it'll highlight all 3 of them, and then you have to click in order to select them, and then pick attach, and then pick the roof. So now the walls are attaching to that roof. Okay, so at this point, I'm ready to use the join tool to join this roof with this existing roof. I'm going to go to the modify menu tab at the top. Now there's a difference between join geometry, and what we're going to use is join unjoin roof. Join geometry helped us to see the the walls of the dormer join with this roof and define it. But we're going to be using here join unjoin roof, this little icon there. We're going to click the back line of the new roof and then the surface of the existing one. And you see, this is exactly what I was talking about. If your roof is too low or too high, this is where you start to design what kind of roof slope do you want. And it's easy to do. You can select it and then use these little arrow keys. Or you can come over here into the properties and really know what your slope is. And as you start to make it smaller or bigger, depending on which way you want to go, you'll be able to find a good slope for both roofs. So this is the 612 here, which is getting kind of, lower. And so now we can make this one a little bit higher. But you know that roofs are generic, usually go by 612s, 812s, 1212. So it's up to you and your design. I might just use these arrows to pull this up a little bit. When you start to modify roofs, because now that I modified this one here needs to be updated because now it's losing its connection. So this is where you start to get into controlling your roofs and the challenges of it. So I'm going to unjoin it. Although it's still joined physically, it might unjoin and then you have to join it back. That's all. So here it is. Oh, I just noticed that little piece right there that wasn't attached from the main wall. So I'm going to select this one, pick attach, top base, and attach it. I am going to just be on the safe side and grab these two. Just going to hold my control key down and grab these two and attach those to the main roof. It's wanting to go all the way up to the other roof, so let's just take a quick look at it. Sometimes it will give you a little warning, but it's still okay. Yeah, you see how it's still all good. That's why I feel like I'm orbiting a lot in my 3D models. And if you select an object like a wall and you orbit, it gives you a little more control around that, that piece. So now let's take a look at this other type of dormer, the one that will go all the way up from the wall here. The wall goes into the dormer wall and it's not set back. And so by creating that, what we're basically doing is we're going to split this roof and then manually define the slope instead of using the footprint, roof by footprint. So let's do it here in the 3D views to kind of get an idea of the process that we're going through. You can double click on that main roof. And on this other side, you can see that you have this really long model line that's in the sketch mode, all sloping up. But what we want to do is break this up into the two pieces that are going to slope up for the roof. So up in the Modify tab here, we're going to use that split element, but we're going to keep that inner piece in there. So go ahead and click on Split Element and uncheck the Delete Inner Segment because what we want to end up with are 4 different pieces. 4 different pieces because we need 2 new pieces here to slope up. So somewhere in here, I'm going to click for my first part of the slope. And then this is the part that's going to slope up. So I'm just going to go up maybe 6 feet and click again. And then I'm going to go over another 6 feet. You can randomly use another amount, but the more that the bigger the dormer, which is fine, the smaller the slope will be in order for it to connect with the other roof. So I'm going to go ahead and click there. So you see what I did was I used this split element to split up that line into 4 different segments. I'm going to use my escape key to get out of splitting those lines. But these two right here, we want to define these 2 small ones to be something different. So I'm going to select one of those lines and take the check mark out of define slope. And do the same thing with this one. I'm going to select this line and take the check mark out of define slope. And now what I end up having are 4 lines, 2 that are going to slope up, and these 2 that I'm going to define the slope. And this is how we do it. We use the slope arrow. The slope arrow is going to help us to create those shed roofs as well. What it does is it just attaches itself to the sketch and kind of forces that slope to go whatever you'd like for the beginning and the end of this sloped arrow. So I'm going to go ahead and click on slope arrow. What I want to do is kind of move around until I can find the end of one of those small lines. I'm going to click here and go towards the middle there where we want it to lift up and become a roof. You can see the arrow, it's huge, but I'm going in this direction. There. Then I want to click on slope arrow again and start from the other side here and go towards the ridge or where the roof's going to go up, right there. Now the default, if you look over here in the properties, because I have one still selected, the tail of it is 0 and the height of it by default is 10 feet. If I keep 10 feet, it's going to be really high and it's going to cause issues, but I want to show you, and then we can come back and change it. I'm going to go ahead and pick the green check mark, and it's not too bad. I'm going to click in space here. I mean, it did create this, this dormer that has a tail, like an end, and the arrow goes up 10 feet. But if I double click on it again to go back into the sketch mode, I can click on this arrow and change the head height to something else. Let's say I change it to 5 feet. If I change it to 5 feet and pick apply, and then I'm going to go ahead and click this other one, change the other one to 5 feet. We're basically saying start at 0 and then go up 5 feet. And now when I pick the green check mark, you see how like I'm able to define the roof slope a different way. It's more about the start point and the end point of that roof. So cool. We just looked at 3 different ways of adding some of the common things that we do. Okay, let's go back to level 1 and create a different building over here, just a smaller one that we can take a look at a few more tools. So we'll go to level 1, double click on that, go to wall, and we'll just create another rectangle over here that's a little bit smaller so that we can work with hip roofs and fascia boards and gutters and soffits here for roofs. So I just clicked a couple points and picked the modify button there. Now I made sure that it was going from level 1 to level 2 because it'll remember that we did that before. And so now we can go to level 2, double click on level 2. And in level 2, you should be able to see like a grayed out version of the wall because we're up higher, right? We're at the level 2. And so now we can go to roof by footprint, and we're going to stay with the 1 foot overhang, but we're going to put a check mark and define slope. And then all of the sides, all of them will be a triangle. So we use the default, which is pick walls. We made sure the overhang was 1 foot, and then we put a check mark and define slope. And now all of the sides have triangles. And when I pick the green check mark and I go to the 3D view, I'll see that because all of the sides had the check mark, we have a hip roof all the way around. So you can decide even after you've placed it. If I double click on this roof, even in the 3D view, I can click right on that line and take the check mark off of define slope and pick the green check mark and see that it goes back to gable. But I like the hip roof, so I just wanted to show you that even after you create it, you can go back and double click on it, click on that line, and put the check mark back in define slope, picking the green check mark to bring it back to the hip roof. Okay, so we do have other tools that we can use in here, and we'll work with all of them. We, or most of them, we have a soffit, a fascia, and a gutter. And if you just rest your pointer on it on these, you'll see that the soffit is that piece that's underneath the overhang. It kind of closes in with an air, like an air vent screen vent. So it's at that point underneath that overhang. A fascia board is the board that's at the end of the roof pitch. It kind of covers all the roof rafters, and we'll have to take a look at changing the size of that as well. And then we do have gutters, which are all different profiles that we're adding to the edge of the roof. Okay, so if we don't put the fascia board on here and we change the material of the roof to like a shingle roof, then the outside line edge here will be still that shingle material. So we'll go up to roof here and roof fascia. And now if you look over here, the properties are that this one is a 1x12. So when we get close to our edge and I click right on this, you can see that that is a 1x12, but you see how thick our roof is? So you either have to make the fascia board, bigger or make the roof smaller. That's totally a choice. We're going to go ahead and escape out of that. But you can see that like that extra board right there. We want to be able to select our roof and then change the roof from a generic 12-inch to a generic 9-inch. When we do that, you'll see that now the fascia board is going to cover that roof. And now you can go back to the fascia 1x12 and click on all of the different edges to bring that fascia board around all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to pick the modify button or pick escape a bunch of times to get out of that and go over to the gutter. The gutter tool is similar. We're just going to start it and then click the edge of the roof, and it actually is put right on the fascia board because we're selecting the fascia board to put it on that. And if you looked at properties, I'm going to escape out of this and select the gutter again. That's the 5x5, but underneath edit profile, you'll see a list of all the other profiles to swap it out for other sizes if you need a bigger gutter. Okay, so now we're looking at the soffit that is underneath. If I just rest my pointer here on soffit, you can see the little purple rectangles there that we're drawing to represent the part that's underneath the roof. Well, with this hip roof, it's going to be all the way around. And so we can do that when we create the sketch. So we're going to go to level 2 and use roof soffit and then define the two rectangles that are inside the fascia. One is inside the fascia and the other one is up against the wall. So now we have these two rectangles that define the soffit, and make sure they're inside that fascia board. And now we need to drop it down. So the height from that level is going to be a -9 inches. Change that over here in the properties and pick apply, and then pick the green check mark. If you take a look at it, it should be dropped down and in line with where the soffit should be. I'd like to also point out that we do have skylights. So if you go up to insert and pick load Autodesk family, you can go down to window, and in the windows, because we have all these different categories, you can scroll down and take a look at all these different skylights that are available. Once you load the skylight, depending on which one that you pick, you can load it, and then if you click on it, put a little check mark in it, load it. Doesn't matter which one you use. Pick out a size that you might want to use, and then you're able to go over to architecture and pick window, and then pop one in there, and it automatically picks up the roof, and that becomes your skylight. So there are a lot of different sizes to choose from. Okay, let's move forward. We're going to create one more structure here so that we can look at roof by extrusion. We're going to go to level 1 and create a wall using the rectangle command under walls. We're going to create this rectangle. Now that's going from level 1 to level 2, so we'll go to level, let's go to the 3D view so that you can kind of see your structure. Now, we're using here roof by extrusion, and if you just rest your pointer here, you can see that we're creating a profile, and that profile is going to be extruded back and becomes a part of that roof. So when we do this, we have to pick a work plane. So we'll go ahead in the 3D view, we'll pick roof by extrusion. Now it's going to say pick a plane, so I'm going to pick OK. I'm going to just pick this one as my work plane. Now, it's going to, because we're in the 3D view, it doesn't know what level you want the roof to be on. We want it to be on level 2. So we can change the level here to 2. And let's go ahead and pick OK. And so this is the plane, but if you want to see the work plane up where it says work plane, you can pick show. You see how it kind of shows you. But we know that that's the work plane because we've clicked on it. So this can be whatever you'd like. You can use zigzags, you can use splines, and maybe I want to rest my pointer on this corner and kind of go extend from there before I click. And so you can have fun with this, really. You know what? I'm just going to go for it and use a spline instead of changing it to zigzags and back to spline, because it's whatever you'd like that profile to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on spline. Somewhere out here, I'm going to go in line with the end of this wall and click. And as I'm drawing, I'm actually drawing curved lines that are drawing on that work plane. And you can see that that's happening if you wanted to orbit around, and you kind of see that it's on that work plane right there. And then when you're done, you pick a green check mark, and you'll see that, well, it goes all the way back because I wasn't looking into the properties under the extrusion end. But at this point, they give us these little arrows that we can use on the roof to kind of pull it back and pull it over to where we want it. It's kind of fun way of creating roofs, whatever design you'd like, and it's an extrusion of that profile. These are really great for entrances that have like arcs and maybe waves and curves like this. So it also depends on where your sketch was. At this point, I'm going to extend the walls. So here's that other tip. If you rest your pointer on the wall, press and let go of the tab key, it highlights all the walls, and then I can click to select the chain of walls. You could have held your control key down and selected each one individually. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and pick attach top base here at the top, and then click the roof. And as long as those walls are underneath the roof, it's going to extend to the roof. Kind of cool. And now that it's extending to the roof, if you want to change the pattern, the profile, you can double click and change this to whatever you'd like. You kind of pick it back a little more, or you can delete it. You can delete this whole sketch and use zigzags to create a completely different roof. Either way, this is showing you the tool roof by extrusion. Okay, so we did a lot in this video. I think I'm going to wrap it up, and in the next video I'll show you about flat roofs as they are slabs, sort of like a floor slab or a topography now. So we'll take a look at that in another video. But here we looked at a lot of different roof combinations. There are a few more things that you might run into, but please keep in touch as we introduce roofs, and I can work with you during the class or beyond the class time. If you start a project and you need some help, please don't hesitate to keep in touch with me.